Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a little bit about my last week in games. And well, it's been a lot of EVE Online last week. I actually did a decent amount of exploration. I've been doing my BPCs, I've been doing my PI. Everything was going well, but I think we should start with the end of the week because yesterday I noticed that we have been war decked. And so this war deck felt a little bit different from all of the previous one right off the bat. When you look at the corporations and alliances that have previously war decked us, it was very noticeable that these were war decking alliances. They always had like a dozen, 2 dozen wars going, lots of destruction happening in and around trade hubs, and that was not the case when it comes to this new enemy that showed up. Their headquarters, one jump out in nullsec, so that's definitely very, very different. I think their war HQ is in Detail itself as well, and they only had one other war going with 1 kill on it, which was for another structure. So right off the bat, I felt like this could be completely different. These guys may definitely mean business. So we have decided to evacuate as much as possible from the structures in Detail. And if you have stuff in my structures in Detail, you still have a couple of days. I would definitely try to get as much out of it as possible because I feel like these guys are just going to roll over everything. There's no plans for diplomacy. I'll explain why in just a second, but yeah, if you have stuff in my structures in Detail, you are not war decked, so you should be able to just get in there, grab all your stuff and get it out as quickly as possible. It is what we have done. There's no ships and no goods left in there. There's like a couple of market orders left. I'm not even sure exactly what's going to happen with those, but in the first few hours of the war, which was at midnight my time, so I was sleeping, they basically burned through all the shields on all of the structures in Detail, which is definitely another sign that this is different from the other wars and that these guys mean business. So my take on this, my analysis on this is that this is definitely not about me or my corporation or my structures. This may be about this, but I don't think so. So they may have noticed that, well, there's a lot of neutrals there. He's got a market. There's a decent amount of activity. There may be some good drops if we go after these structures, but I honestly think the main reason for this war is that this is all about Providence. I think this group is trying to establish itself in Providence, and if you want to then control what happens there, having control of Detail makes a lot of sense. It is the first high-sec system. It doesn't have any NPC stations there, so you can basically have a certain measure of control if you take down, well, first of all of the other L structures that are available there. You don't want any competing markets, you want to have full control of that, and that's probably what's happening. I think that these guys are seeing this as just a cleanup operation, which honestly, I'll give this warning. I'm not entirely sure, of course, but I think that this may just be the start for Detail, and that eventually this group may go after every single structure in Detail in order to fully lock that down, lock the gateway to Providence from high-sec, and try to establish themselves there. So yeah, I read this war as basically a small bump in the road for them in a much bigger plan. So quite a few of you guys, when I posted about the war happening, also offered assistance in trying to defend the structures. We're not going to do that. I don't want anyone to risk and lose even more stuff on my behalf. I also don't think we have a very good chance at organizing enough against what we're up against. This will be pretty big Lashak fleets that are going after the structures. I'm assuming here that they just hit all of them simultaneously. They've got a pretty big list of corporations within this alliance. They're organized, they know what they're doing, they're motivated. That's pretty obvious as well, because it's decently impressive, I think, to just take down all the shields on all my structures in a single go. That's actually pretty damn impressive. There's a constant presence in Detail as well. I'm constantly seeing war targets there. So nope, we're basically gonna see what happens, but I fully expect them to just, see this as what needs to be done, and that they will take the armor timer, take the structure timer, and everything will probably be blown up. Perhaps a little bit unfortunate as well, but honestly, for us, for me personally, this is not that big a deal. And god damn it, I actually need to drink here for a moment. So this is not that big a deal because I follow rule number 1 in EVE Online. I don't deploy and I don't fly what I'm not willing to lose, and I also follow the extra rule that's behind that. I don't put anything inside structures that I'm not willing to lose, because this can happen at any time to anyone. And so I hope that that all of you guys that have been using my structures also follow that rule, so that if everything is blown up, you don't have that big of a loss that you feel like you can't recover from it. But it's bound to happen, and I'm also seeing this as potentially the end of a chapter, a pretty long chapter actually, because since CCP first announced structures in EVE Online with the very first Astra Hoos, I had this plan, this dream of managing to do what I've been able to do, which is really amazing, of course. I found the system of Dital very unique, no NPC stations, right next to nullsec, lowsec very close, not that far off from Amar, and back in the day from Jita, it was really the perfect place to try and set up my own structure, set up a free port, allow players to explore EVE Online from within my structures, provide them with as many services as possible. I've been able to do that, and I've actually been able to do that for quite a few years at this point, so I feel like we have accomplished that, and it was never really the plan to keep necessarily doing that forever. I always had in the back of my mind that this is EVE Online, this is the sandbox, and at some point some group may just decide that, hey, we don't want you there anymore, you are gone. Then that's exactly what's going to happen. So I'm actually really impressed with how long everything has been up and running, with all of the support that I got from you guys as well. And basically I already preemptively want to say that I hope I was able to help some new players find their way in EVE Online by providing them with this temporary home with next to free services, and in a pretty unique spot in a Mars space that allows you to explore nullsec, which back in the day was actually friendly to neutrals as well. That allows you to go into low sec, very good place to do exploration, as you've seen from all of my videos. So a very, very unique place, and a very nice adventure, but probably a chapter that is ending at this point, and zero regrets. I will always look back fondly at my time in Dital if it's actually ending with this war here, but I also don't mind it. It just means that we will start a next chapter in EVE Online, see what brings next, and what it brings next, and of course I'll keep you guys up to date on what I'm doing, what I decide to do, my thinking, and all of that stuff through more videos on the channel as well. So in the first part of the week I also did a little bit of exploration. In fact, I've made an extra video on the flycatcher showing its potential against some small targets. That's still coming next week, so if it's not immediately a war update, that is the reason why. PI, well, we're just doing our PI there in Dital as well, but it's all on the planets, and it's not worth a lot at the moment, so we'll just probably pour all of that in an NPC station as well, and see what we decide to do PI wise if we are basically kicked out of Dital. And then the BPCs, of course. Very interesting week actually, surprisingly enough, for the BPCs as well. So the volumes have gone down substantially from last week. Last week we actually had a lot of sales, almost all my contracts were picked up. This week not so much, but the price fluctuations in Amar are actually quite amazing. Some of them selling for 20 and almost 30 million ISK for a BPC of a capital ship. That is very, very impressive, and a big difference that I'm noticing now between Jita and Amar. So Jita always had a lot of contracts, but you had this baseline price, I would say 12.5 million or something like that for a capital BPC, where you would have a decent turnover time. You would definitely sell it at some point in a reasonable amount of time. Here in Amar, there's no certainty how quickly you will sell your BPC. Sometimes it's very fast, sometimes it is not, but the potential price that you can get for a good BPC is obviously quite a lot higher. So I've sold quite a few at 20 plus million, and I've seen some that have the lowest price above 30 million for a capital ship. So that's pretty damn impressive. we'll see how I manage to keep that up, of course, without a research station at this point to make all of these BPCs, but this was definitely another very different market situation in Amar compared to Jita, where at the moment, of course, I'm doing most of my business. And yeah, that's basically it for EVE Online. We will see what happens with the war, but as I've said, all shields are gone. These guys feel like they're motivated, organized, big numbers, and I don't think we'll be able to stop them. This is gonna be to them a bit of just one small phase in a massive operation, which I think is all about Providence. That's my read on that. I'll also give you guys a little bit of a warning. It may be fate, I don't know, but of course there is another game that's on the horizon. Next week in the World of Warcraft we should have the Scourge event happening before the Shadowlands launch, which I think is on the 23rd of November or something like that. Not the cup of tea of most of my viewers, but you know, I'm not a one game type of guy, so I will definitely take a look at the Scourge event at the World of Warcraft at Shadowlands and make some content about that. So expect in the upcoming weeks and months it to be all about me trying to balance EVE Online with the World of Warcraft, and we'll see how we keep that up or what's going to happen. But there you go, guys. That was my last week in games. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all of your support, of course. It's definitely still my #1 game, and we'll see what we do next. But for now, I'll see you all next time.